Hey everyone, I am back. It's Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment. I hope that you have had a wonderful week. For those of you who tune in every single Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, welcome back. It's Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment. And for those of you who are brand new to Mental Health Moment, welcome, welcome. We are here live every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on Black Women Empowered Incorporated Facebook page, YouTube, and LinkedIn Live. And for those of you who are tuning in on the replay, I'm Dr. Nikisha Hammond, YouTube. Welcome, welcome. Be sure to like this video, share, and subscribe. And thanks for those who are starting to join here. Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment. Let me know in the comments where you are tuning in from here today, and hopefully my comments will come in quickly today because I never know, y'all, as usual. But yeah, let me know where you're tuning in from today. For those of you who are new, I do reside in the Tampa Bay area of Florida. Thanks for all your check-ins and your direct messages and just all the good wishes and all that sort of thing, especially with these two back-to-back hurricanes that have happened over the last month or so. Like, time just is like a weird thing in the Florida area right now. There's just so much going on. Of course, probably the national news has sort of died down on certain aspects of the hurricane, but there's still a lot of recovery efforts and the aftermath things that we're dealing with as communities. So still keep those prayers if you believe in prayer. Excuse me, prayer or good energy, all that kind of stuff. Just keep it coming. And thanks for joining. Thanks for tuning back in from Boston. Welcome, welcome. Again, let me know where you are tuning in from here in the chat. And for those of you who missed last week, Columbus, Ohio, welcome, welcome. For those of you who missed last week, we started going over my new book. So it's Mindset Training, Conquer Your Mind and the Rest Will Follow. It is on Amazon. I know a lot of people have asked, like, where can I get it? It is on Amazon.com as well as BarnesandNoble.com, Walmart.com, BooksAMillion.com, and many other online book retailers. If you haven't already grabbed your copy, but essentially what I'm doing through the end of this year is I'm going to go through different chapters each week of Mental Health Moment to just sort of highlight some of the concepts in the book and also answer any questions that maybe you guys have had. I know a lot of you have already ordered the book, but any questions that you had about that particular chapter and dive a little bit more deeper into some of the topics in this book. But it is about holistic self-care. How do you take care of yourself and grow as a person emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically? MindsetTrainingBook.com does have the information of where to go to order the book and the summary of the book if you want to check that out as well. There's also some goodies, for those of you who've ordered the book on there as well. Excuse me, you all. So we're going to go through this in a moment. I'm just reading your comments here. Pennsylvania's in the house. Welcome, welcome. Virginia, Barbados, you're welcome. Good evening from Africa. Welcome. Thanks again so much for you all who are joining here. Today. And again, let me know where you're tuning in from in the chat. So today, actually, we are, let's see what the schedule says. We'll be going through chapters 2 and 3. So like I said, by the end of this year, by the end of 2024, we'll have gone through all the chapters in the book. It's definitely not required. If you don't have a copy of the book, you can still obviously tune in to Mental Health Moment. If you do have a copy of the book though already, then it's a good time. You know, if you're a highlighter, I'm definitely a highlighter, but a highlighter or underline or however you want to just really take more of the concepts in for yourself, then be sure to do that. Los Angeles is in the house. Welcome, welcome. And thanks again so much for joining here. Okay, so we're going to dive in. So chapter 2 and 3 actually are about, they're still more of the intro chapters, which is about self-care. For those of you who are not new to Mental Health Moment, this is something we talk about very often on Mental Health Moment. So the 2 chapters are more the intro chapters, but they're about self-care and the notion that self-care is not selfish. This is great news. Awesome. Thank you. Um, so let me get into chapter 2 a little bit with you all, okay? And highlight some of the things in here that I thought was really important. And some of these things you may have heard before on Mental Health Moment. Actually, what I had a lot of motivations for writing this book, but one of them was some of the discussions that we've had on Mental Health Moment over the many years of doing Mental Health Moment, some of the questions that you all have had, some of the topics that we've talked about. So some of them are in the book, and of course, a whole lot more. But essentially, in chapter 2, which talks about self-care, at the beginning, I really wanted to remind you that not only is self-care not selfish, which I'm sure hopefully you've heard before, because it's like a buzz thing now that is on social media about self-care, but also that it's really important for you to make that commitment for your self-care and whatever that looks like. So these are the two most common things that I often hear. I can't remember if I put this in the book or not. But I'm going to share this with you still. The two most common things that I hear are an issue with self-care is I don't have time or I don't have money. Those are like the two most common things. So here's the good news. And this is what I talk about, like different strategies and things you can do. There are plenty of things you can do for your self-care that are free. So do not cost you a dime. Um, and the second thing about self-care is if if you say that you don't have the time to take care of yourself, you're actually not really telling yourself the truth. It's something we like time is an excuse that we make. Time is something that we often say and it's an excuse really, but we really honestly do make the time for the things we want to make time for. Does that make sense? Oh, someone said, "Oh my goodness, I remember you, my friend." Hey, welcome to Mental Health Moment. So that's something I want you to really keep in mind for you. So you tell me in the comments here. So one thing, like because I could name a zillion things, and actually I named a ton of things for you to try in the book because it's very practical. I believe in practical strategies, right? Like what can you start, what can you do? But you tell me for you in the chat, what is one thing that you could do for your own self-care that costs you no money, right? So let me know in the chat. Let me know in the chat one thing that you could do that costs you no money when it comes to your self-care. And the reason why I want you to put that in the comments is because not only, well, are you reminding yourself for you, but other people like reading the chat can be like, oh, okay, I never thought of that. Let me try that. Oh, okay, here's something else that is free to do for your self care. Something that brings you joy, something that allows you to reset, something allows you to recharge and costs no money whatsoever. Okay, so let me know in the chat. And hi from Virginia. Welcome, welcome. Um, Someone said gardening, sleep, sleep with 3 exclamation points. That's good. Beautiful, wonderful. Sawing. These are actually pretty interesting, y'all. Take a walk in your neighborhood, read a book, dance party in your living room. I'm loving all of those. Sleeping slash resting. I like that too. These are really good examples, you all. And here's the thing, there is not a right or wrong. It's just that you have to get into the mindset to understand that there are plenty of things you could do for your self-care that literally cost you no money, that can bring you joy. Now, don't get me wrong. There's things that cost money too, right? There's plenty of things that cost money for your self-care, and we all have different resources. So again, do what works best for you. I'm not saying to never spend money on self-care. Absolutely not. You can do that too, but also if you have that excuse of like, oh, it costs too much and it's too much money, or that type of excuse, then start with the things that are free, right? Someone said bath time for me, walking your dog, drinking some water. Ooh, that's good. Ooh, that's so good. That's actually, yeah, an upcoming tip that I'm going to be talking about here soon. But hydration, very, very important. That's good. That's good, you all. So that's what chapter 2 really talks about, is making that commitment. One of the things that, and I want you to answer this too in the chat. And thank you all, by the way, for responding. And I love that I can actually see the comments because I never know with Mental Health Moment what technology wants to do with me. Someone said, go swing in the park. I love that. Actually, I did that the other day too. It was so fun. my son, he's like 12 now, so it was just interesting because like now my son can push me, like in a swing. And we were outside. It was actually pretty fun. That he's old enough to do that. But yeah, that's really cool. That's a really fun thing to do. Um, oh yeah, my other question to you all, and that's a question that I asked you to ask yourself in the book as well, is when you think about the time commitment now. So you think about self care because again, we talked about like sometimes we have this idea like self care takes so much of our time. Like we have to spend half the day in self care. Totally unrealistic. Definitely not saying you need to be doing that. If you need to take a mental health half day, mental health hour, mental health full day, or whatever that may be, that's different. But on a consistent basis, you don't necessarily have to be taking tons and tons and tons of time for self care in order to get the benefits, if that makes sense. Um, so, so one of the things I asked in the book is when you think about the time commitment, ask yourself how much time can you dedicate to improving your life. So, and let me know in the comments for you. So, do you have an extra 60 minutes a week? So, do you have an extra hour a week? You may or may not, and that's okay. No judgment. Can you dedicate one full day to yourself a month? Is that where you're at? Is that your commitment? Or hopefully at the minimum, you all, or can you dedicate 60 seconds a day? And that is something you all, oh, for those of you that don't know, I've been on a podcast tour now. I don't even know what month. I think it was May. And so when I started, anyways, doing a lot of different podcast interviews. And one of the things that I'm very a huge advocate for is taking a minimum of 60 seconds a day for yourself. So I call it take a minute. It can be very transformational. Again, if you're in that space of like, I don't have enough time, then you start there at a minimum. But let me know in the comments for you what, and be honest with yourself, but what is the commitment that you can make for your self care? Can you say, okay, I can commit to 60 seconds a day? Or can you say, I commit to 1 hour a week or one full day a month? Or like, what is your amount of time that you are saying, I want to commit this amount of time for myself, for yourself, you all. It's not selfish, for self care. So let me know in the comments. I swear, I've gotten so many scam calls in the past 2 minutes, you all. That's why I keep looking at my watch. Of course, during a live, I don't know. Anyways, but nonetheless, let me know in the chat how much time you would say, okay, I'm going to devote this amount of time for myself. And there's not really a right or wrong answer. No, let me take that back. The only answer that wouldn't be good, honestly, is if you said, I don't have any time for the self care stuff and I'm not doing anything for my self care and anything to take care of myself. Then that makes me a bit sad because we all need to start somewhere, right? So again, even if it's 60 seconds a day, as much as you can, that counts too. But what is it? Let me know. Yep. No, let me know in the chat how much time you can devote. Okay. And hopefully my comments will still come in like they were before. Drink water every day. Take a walk and meditate in the Holy Spirit. Yes, absolutely. Beautiful. Have a healthy lunch. Take a nap if you're tired. That works. Someone said 1 hour a day. I am grown. Okay. All good. All good. And that's great. Like, but we all have different schedules, right? So some of you listening to this, maybe you're retired. For some of you listening to this, maybe you're like, I'm working 60 hours a week, multiple jobs. For some of you, maybe you're working part-time, maybe you're not working at all. Like we all have different time schedules. So I want to be fair on that, which is why it's important for you right now today to say, okay, what can you commit to? And again, a couple years from now, you may be saying a different number, and that's okay. The most important thing is that you're taking the steps to take care of yourself. Okay. So I asked you those two questions, which are really important. And then chapter 3, I'm just going to dive into briefly here. So chapter 3 is again the notion that self-care is not selfish. For those of you who still believe that, please know that a lot of things about self-care you have to be unlearning. Maybe it was from your childhood, maybe your teen years, maybe someone told you something about, put yourself last. all those sorts of things are just not true. You are allowed to be happy. You're allowed to be emotionally healthy. You're allowed to have self care. You're allowed to have joy. You are allowed to have those things. Self care can help you to thrive and be more productive in what you're trying to accomplish, whatever that may be, whether that's work, life, family, friends. Taking care of yourself, again, is a way for you to show up powerfully for yourself and for those people around you. Okay, so chapter 3. In chapter 3, I will share a little nugget on here. It does start off, well, all of the chapters in the book start off, or for those of you who are just joining, sorry. For those of you who are just joining, welcome, welcome. It's Dr. Hammond here with your mental health moment. We are going through today chapter 2 and 3 of my new book, Mindset Training, Conquer Your Mind, and the rest will follow. In case you're like, what in the world is Dr. Hammond talking about today? And we're actually going to be going through this till the rest of this year. So we're going to get through the whole entire book. I already have a whole schedule for y'all. We're going to go through each of those chapters. So anyhow, so chapter 3, self-care is not selfish. Actually, in the beginning, one of the quotes that's one of my favorite quotes by my speaking coach, mentor, and amazing human being, Jeremy Anderson, is always grateful, never settle. So that's one of his infamous quotes. And I put this in here because it's really important for us, again, to understand the book is about self-care. The book is about self-improvement. You can absolutely be grateful with wherever you're at, whatever you've been through, where you're at this point, but also recognize you don't have to settle and you can still work on your growth. Very important. So that's a whole nother chapter about self-love. Never mind. We'll get to the self-love chapter. Hi, welcome. Thanks so much for joining here. Okay, so let me talk a little bit about this chapter here. And okay, I'm going to show you guys something in the book. So again, this idea about self-care not about self-care not being, you're not selfish if you have self-care, right? The way I think of this, I'm going to, hopefully you could see it on the screen here. Okay, hopefully you can. I'm just going to show you. And you can screenshot if you need to. Oops, there we go. Nope. Okay, there we go. So there's you over here. There's you and the rest of your priority list. It is, again, it's a mindset shift to get to that point. But your goal, hopefully right now, is for you to work through and understand how important your physical health is, emotional health is, spiritual health is, and mental health is, and like mentally putting yourself on top of all the to-dos. You got to do this, that, and whatever, because your health is very, very important. So again, where a lot of us have not been taught that, it's like put everything else first. I know for myself personally, which I shared in the book, my journey through burnout and not putting myself first, not prioritizing physical, emotional health, all those sorts of things. But it's important for us to unlearn that and be on our journeys wherever you're at in that process. Peaceful greetings, welcome. Someone said, I first have to love myself and take care of myself first before I can love and take care of the love of my life. Beautiful. Beautiful. Greetings to you as well. Exactly right. So okay, so let me ask you another question for you to think about. And again, I want to remind you all, especially for those of you who are new, this is the no judgment zone on Mental Health Moment with Dr. Hammond. I'm not here to judge you. Hopefully no one else in the comments are here to judge you. Like, hopefully this is sort of a safe space, right? Each week. So let me know in the comments, either yes or no, be honest with yourself. Do you feel right now that you are number one on your priority list? So yes, you're number one. Everything else, I mean, it's important. There's a lot of important things, but you're number one on your priority list, or no, you're not there yet. And it's okay if the answer is no. So let me know in the comments, yes or no. And while you all are doing that, if you, well, actually, some of you might be following along in the book. So I'm going to tell you some of the page numbers only because some of you might be following along. So I'll just tell you the page numbers. I just realized that. I'll start doing that for the next, well, for till the end of the year when I go through the book. Someone said, yeah, I love it. I love it, love it, love it. Someone said, yes. Oh, you were, yes. And again, if your answer is no, that's okay too. No, I'm not there yet. Totally fine. Like, thank you for being honest. All good. It is a journey. We're all at a different point, and that's okay. Someone said now, yes. I'm not number one. I'm probably number three or four. Okay. All good. That's again honest. And again, you might not even know the answer today, and that's okay. But if you take the reflection time, I know all of us are busy. We're all busy. But when you find a small amount of time to take the reflection time to really ask yourself that question, where am I at on my priority list? That's really, really important. And the reason why it's important for you to be like top of mind, like number one, is because when you think about your mental health, when you think about your physical health, it's going to impact the decisions that you make, right? We're always bombarded with decisions. And sometimes we're like, I don't know, should I do this? Should I do that? Well, one of your filters hopefully is you. Like, is this good for my mental health? Is this good for my physical health? Is this bringing me joy? And everything can't bring you joy, and I get that. But is this good for you and your health? Right? That's one of the things that's really important. And that starts to happen when you start to bump yourself up on the priority list. And remember, when you bump yourself up to number one on your priority list, this is not just for you. So this book isn't about like put yourself first and everything is just, the world revolves around you and no one else is important. Of course not. It actually helps the people around you too when you are the best version of who you are. That's a great thing for the people around you that you care about in your community. Okay, so page 16, if you have the book, this is the thing that, well, I wrote at the top of 16. It's funny because someone the other day, I think this is the page she highlighted. I don't know. She put on the Instagram stories, which is sweet. But this is something I say, like repeat these phrases often. I've said this many times, a mental health moment, but I'm going to remind you again, okay? To repeat these phrases often to yourself. And maybe someone can type it in the chat. I deserve to be happy. Repeat that to yourself often. I deserve to be happy. The next thing, I deserve to be emotionally healthy. A lot of times, well, psychology, it is what it is. It's a newer field and whatnot. We've had centuries of information about physical health. I'm totally on board with that, of course, right? Overall health, but the mental health and our emotional health, sometimes we forget about that. So tell yourself, I deserve to be emotionally healthy because you do. And the third thing to repeat to yourself often is I deserve to be spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically well. You deserve holistic self care, meaning spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically well. You deserve those things. That is a more comprehensive picture of yourself instead of only focusing on one direction in your life. Um, and it's so interesting. It's still on page 16 because I really talked about a lot of people that I've known over the years who have really changed their life, especially when it comes to self-care. There's, well, not that I've heard anyway, there's no story I've heard of people that have said, I've done a 180 and I really regret changing for the better. Changing for the better. No one has ever told me that. Right? Like, because to when you get to the point mentally where you're like, okay, I'm putting myself first now. I'm doing my self-care. I'm really taking care of me. I'm focusing on my health physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally. It's a really great place to be at. Um, so like I said, I've had no one that's ever said like, oh man, I really wish to go back to like the um the way I was not focusing on my health, right? So keep that in mind too. There is a light at the end of the tunnel for those of you who are like, I don't know if I can get there. You can. How long it takes kind of depends. We're like I said, we're all at different points of the journey. It's sort of like, well, maybe because I used to run half marathons, I'm always thinking of races in my head, but it's sort of like, so a half marathon, for example, is like 13.1 miles, right? And it's like where are you at in the race? Like you might be at mile one, which is okay. You're like at the beginning, right? Or you might be at mile 12, like to hit the point, mentally hit the point where you need to be to, kind of finish this race and be like, okay, now my mindset has shifted. Now I'm in a much better place. But even when you get there, then you have to maintain all that, right? This is a lifelong commitment. Good evening to you. Welcome, welcome. Good evening. God bless you as well. Um, okay, so so I'm looking at the time here. Um, One of the things that the last thing I want to leave you with today is that this is the end of chapter 3 for those of you who are following along in the book. Um, on page 17, there's that's a whole long concept. Okay, I'm going to briefly discuss it because it's also in another chapter, and I'll get more into that later. But it's also important to reframe, and what that means is for those of you who are like, okay, self care is really hard for me to do. I don't have time for it. I don't have money. I don't deserve it. Like whatever, like all the things that you're thinking about, it's really important for you to start reframing that notion. Meaning, you have to tell yourself something, right? Because we're trying to make changes here, trying to have more positive habits, but you have to tell yourself something that's also realistic. Like, yes, this may be hard for me, but I know I can do it. And even if you don't completely believe it yet, your mind is very powerful, you all. So what you start to feed your mind and tell your mind, that's why there's a gazillion things out there. If you Googled affirmations, there'd probably be like a gazillion pages on it. The things that you feed into your mind, the things that you're telling yourself, when you start to reframe in your mind this notion of self care and how you deserve that, you are allowed to thrive, you're allowed to be happy, your brain starts to be more comfortable with the idea. And well, the changes that you're starting to put in place, you can appreciate them more. And again, it's a process. Um, okay, so that essentially, in a nutshell, is the end of chapter 3. And again, I'm going through this very quickly, obviously, you all, because I'm just giving you the high level. So next week, yeah, okay, making sure I'm looking at the right day here. So next week, October 29th. Next week, I'm going to go through chapters 4 and 5. Again, well, 4 and 5, we're kind of getting into like mental self care because again, there's different parts in the book about self care. If you haven't grabbed your book already, Mindset Training, Conquer Your Mind, and the rest will follow. It is on Amazon and many other online retailers. So be sure to grab your book. Definitely not required. If you'd like to follow along, obviously that's easier to have the book. If not, it's all good. We'll still be back here next Tuesday, every Tuesday actually, leading up to the rest of the year, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, live on Black Women Empowered Incorporated Facebook page, YouTube, and LinkedIn Live. Yeah, thank you. And for those of you who are, for those of you on Instagram and, well, never mind, not TikTok. I do have a TikTok, but I need I need to start using it. But for those of you on Instagram, in the past I changed my username so it's a lot easier for all of you. So it's not Dr. Hammond anymore. It is Dr. Nikisha Hammond, my full name. Actually, I probably should put it in the comments because, okay, let me put it on there. It's my full name, Dr. Nikisha Hammond, on all social media platforms. So DrNekesha Hammond on all social media platforms. Feel free to follow me on there as well. I'm always trying to post resources, information, inspirational, uplifting things related to our mental wellness because each and every one of us, again, I strongly believe that we deserve to be well. We deserve to be happy. We deserve to have joy. We deserve to be emotionally healthy and mentally healthy and physically and spiritually and all the things. We deserve abundance, frankly. So be sure. Thank you so much. So be sure to connect. If you need anything before next Tuesday, you can also reach out on my website, drnikishahammond.com. Oh, I was supposed to tell you all. Okay, I'll share next week for sure with you all because I know some of you are like, where are you speaking next? There is an upcoming open to the public engagement, but I will make myself a note and I promise to share that with you all next week because I did not bring the information today. But that will be in December and it's virtual and it is open to the public. So I'm just writing myself a note. I will share that with you all next week. Yes, indeed. Okay, so as I wrap up here, again, be well. Please remember for those of you who made those commitments of how often you're going to start to incorporate self-care, please do those things. Again, every step counts. So don't be like, oh, I'm not where I should be. Like that. Let's not use that mentality. Let's just, kind of think as positively as we can and be like, let's move forward. Let's do what we can. Let's take, even if it's the baby steps right now, it's all good. But making the steps that we need to take towards our self-care. So I will be back again next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here live on. Will you ever be able to come to Huntsville, Alabama? Was I? No, I wasn't in Alabama. I was in another state. Maybe, maybe I will be doing more book signings. Actually, I think it starts in December into next year. So maybe, possibly, we'll see for sure. But again, I'll be back next Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here live on Black Women Empowered Incorporated Facebook page, YouTube, and LinkedIn Live. So have an amazing rest of your week, and I will see you all next week. Bye, you guys.